This is not a normal podcast. Look around. We're on an island in the James River in downtown Richmond. Sharps Island, it's called. People camp here, fish here, party here. For over 200 years, Richmonders have built structures on this island. Inevitably, those structures were washed away, but the Richmonders, like myself, keep coming back, keep building, trying to gain a foothold. Why? For us, the water that surrounds Sharps Island isn't a barrier, it's a threshold, a doorway to a magical place. This acre of rock and sand surrounded by the city, yet somehow completely secluded. On this podcast, our guests have to get in a boat and leave the world behind. I hope you'll come with them. Okay, all right, so we'll end up over here, that's fine. I'm gonna I'll just drag us up the way the current is with the tide. Yeah, you can stop that if you want. I'll drag it around. Welcome, man. Here, hold on, I'm gonna bring it around here real quick. And then we're, pull it up as the tide comes in.
Hey, how are you? Hey, nice to see you. I'm Claire.
Just the remnants of what was here as a grill?
Yeah, that was actually ours. That looks like ancient history. A guest brought it from the high ground and like left it here, and then the water came up, and the number of grills we've gone through. Good to have you, brother.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
I've heard you've done a lot of work to get it back to where.
When did you last see it? You were here.
I saw it before the water took the shade.
The last cabin.
A really cool thing.
Yeah, so have you seen the new cabin that we built up here? All right, good. You're going to love it. I guess you were here for the art event we had.
Yep.
So that was...
And then Dina, a friend of mine, had her birthday.
Yes, that's right. Dina's the best.
Oh,
I put her in the
awesome.
camp of Sharps Island super fans, like the people who've been here 3, 4, 5 times.
She's amazing.
She's just so cool.
And the best time, came here, broke my fly rod.
Oh,
A kid had found a rod in the water.
Okay.
I put my fly line on it, threw poppers over here, and caught this massive smallmouth.
no
crab.
way.
Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I follow, I'm sure you do too, a ton of different fishing, people on Instagram, and they're definitely catching smallmouth in this area, even in the last like 2-3 days. Yeah, here it is. Welcome. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, man.
I had grand plans for us to fish, and then that the last high water event broke 2 of my rods, or lost 2 of my rods, so I got one. We'll see if we can throw it in there and catch some catfish. But
I've got fly fish stuff in my truck.
oh, it's fine. We're as hot as it is, maybe we we've debated all the different places. We got it set up here. We do it in there. The rooftop deck is the newest addition. That's not going to happen today.
Yeah.
Way too sunny. Isn't it cool? All right. Today we're joined by a legend in the Richmond art and music scene. Is legend? Are you old enough to be a legend
No,
yet?
God, no.
No?
No.
All right. So
go
an
ahead.
up and comer in the Richmond art
Yeah,
and music
I love
scene,
that.
right? Does that sound better?
That sounds awesome.
The one and only Ed Trask braved the, semi-raging James in a bona fide summer heat dome. I mean, it's hot out here to be on America's first and only urban island podcast.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
welcome.
exciting.
I will say the one thing about Sharps Island, as hot as it is, there's always a breeze here.
Yeah,
Like,
it's cool.
There's no breeze at my house. There's no breeze at anyone's house, but there's a breeze here. So, welcome. I guess it's days like today when you realize why people do podcasts in studios with air conditioning.
No.
All right, so I was reading up on you. We know each other through Richmond Little League and a little bit through the art scene. Everything I can find about you begins with an art degree at VCU, but I want to go back before that. You're from Virginia. You're from Northern Virginia? Kind of like the sticks of Northern Virginia, right?
I grew up in Percival,
Okay.
Virginia, which is part of Loudoun
Is that
County.
Loudoun? Yeah.
Yeah. And when I grew up there, it was not what it is now.
Okay.
So we had 15 acres. We were
that's
surrounded
awesome.
by farms.
Right.
And everybody had covenants on their land, meaning like with that covenant, You're not going to break it up, and little McMansions aren't going to show up everywhere.
Right.
My father was part of the Preservation Society. He had started the first Unitarian church in Loudoun County,
cool.
and my mother. They were very liberal, but they were really about preserving some of what was beautiful about Loudoun County. And so that was hard to see. As I was growing up, I was slowly watching Loudoun County change, and I literally got to see a perfect example of unsmart growth in the county.
Right.
And then it all happens because you're 60 miles from Washington, D.C.
Right.
And you saw the expansion of, well, I can't live in D.C., I can't live in Fairfax anymore, I can't live in Arlington, I can't live in Sterling, and it just kept going farther and farther. And so you also saw, once the generation of farmers went to their kids and they're like, hey, the farm's yours.
Right, here's this inheritance.
They didn't want it. They were like, we don't want to be farmers anymore. We don't want to carry this on. And so that's when the farms broke up and the urban expansion hit that rural area, it just changed at a meteoric fashion.
Yeah. And now, I mean, I went out there for a softball tournament with my daughter, and now it's like, I've never seen so many data centers in my life. It's like they're growing them out of the ground. Have you been up there recently? It's crazy.
We ended up, me and Matt Lively and Steve Hedberg did a ginormous mural.
Okay.
And it was behind...
in Loudoun County?
In Loudoun County, in Ashburn. And it was behind a not cinema draft house, but some giant movie theater. And it was because they had apartments behind it. The developers like, I want them have something beautiful to look at. So we were like, and we proposed it, and the mural went well. While we were there, we were starting to count the amount of data centers. Yeah. And so Matt and I had an idea. We're like, why aren't we hitting these data centers of these giant blank cement walls?
Right.
But what I just found out is recently, Loudoun County has pretty much said, okay, we had no idea you were going to be using so much energy. Right. You're going to be creating so much heat. Right. And not just like physical heat, but
hot water
environmentally what they're creating. So they decided to, if you're going to build a new one, you have to have some kind of beautification idea. Like you've got to keep it from being that cement block. Right. So I think
maybe it's coming.
It's coming. Matt and I have been talking about, all right, we got to start hitting these guys up.
Right.
But it is it's almost like it's not even a brutalist structure. It's just, it's awful.
It's blank.
They're everywhere.
And
it makes you think, this is going to sound awful. Maybe I'll be put on the list after this podcast, but oh my God, if you literally just drop the bomb right there, everybody's information is gone. Because in Ashburn, that whole area of Loudoun County, there's got to be at least half, that data center's got to have half of what we have on the cloud in this country.
Yeah, Chat GPT stops working.
You are done.
If that area goes down. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Digress into that.
Edward Abbey would be proud.
Yeah.
So you grew up there, and then what? You came to Richmond through VCU, is that right?
I did. For art, yeah. I had I was either going to go to Shenandoah Conservatory of Music for percussion. I was going to be
a drummer, right?
A drummer, yeah. I was going to be a percussionist, or VCU for painting. And so I decided to do George Mason instead for a semester. Okay. And went with my sister and loved George Mason, but going up Route 50 and driving to it and being in Fairfax wasn't what I was about. Yeah. And so after one, I ended up leaving and coming to Richmond. Okay. And then that was it.
For VCU.
And that's what, I being a drummer and I've been in all these bands when I was younger, all through high school and stuff. I remember my father dropping me off in an apartment on Franklin Street I was sharing with 3 other guys because there's no room in the dorm. Right. So I lucked out. I got to get past the dorm area.
That's cool.
And he looked around and was like, are you sure about this? Because
this is Richmond in the 90s?
Richmond was, 80s, dude. 80s. I'm old. So it was different. Gray Street was sketchy in a great way. Like it was awesome. Right. And so my father was just looking around going, this is crazy.
I'm dropping my kid off where? Right.
Yeah, what's going on? Right. And he left and I started classes, but then within 2 weeks I had started in a band. And the band started rolling, and so we're starting to play local gigs in different clubs.
Literally almost right away.
Right away. And then what I love is I immediately started falling in love with Richmond which paralleled with my expansion of what the city was.
Right.
So you get dropped off at VCU campus, and you think this is Richmond, and then maybe you go a mile and a half farther, and you're like, ooh, this is the James River. And then you go farther, you're like, oh, that's Southside, and you start, so that's when I really fell in love with the city.
So were you? It sounds like you were both a musician and a fine artist. Which one were you first? Which one did you identify with first?
You know, I probably definitely musician, drumming.
Okay.
And you know, I got to see firsthand some of the cruelty that happens to middle school kids via having kids. But when I was, you know, when I was starting middle school, I was already playing drums. And man, when kids just started getting mean, I just was like, I retreated to my room, and I would spend 6 hours a day on drums.
Oh my gosh.
That's all I did, that and played baseball, and it was like, this is all I want to do.
Right.
And it kind of saved me. And so, you know, it got to the point where I could play pretty much any crappy record I could put on my record player.
Right.
And so I figured, I guess I'll be a drummer.
Right. You, I was reading an article. It was really cool, and I didn't know this website existed. It was northofthejames.com. A guy named Mark McGuigan wrote a cool article, and he talked about your dad in there. He was like a NASA scientist. Is that right?
He was. He was an Apollo 11 program and the Mercury programs,
so you talked about your dad. I mean, I'm just fascinated by the human brain and how your dad and your mom, who you said was sort of similarly left brain, logical. How do they produce an Ed Trask who seems to be like music and art and all right brain?
You know, I don't know. All I can say is I was lucky in the sense that, you know, I think it was 9th grade, I had an art class, and I had an art teacher who, and I was one of them, was just like looking at a class full of like what we had, the little sections in high school. You have the jocks, and you have you have the rednecks, and you have the stoners, and you have the preppies.
Right.
Like, you know,
like a movie.
It was a total movie scene, and she was looking at nobody who really wanted to be there.
Right.
She just threw down an oil painting kit to all of us, which was, when you think about it now, it's like, how stupid is that? But I remember she was like, okay, I'll be back in an hour. And she just left. And so we were supposed to take a National Geographic magazine, which had a pile of, pull out a picture, you know, stick our little 11 by 14 canvas on the table and paint it. And so I was like, well, this is actually awesome. I'll do this. And so she comes back in an hour, and, you know, kids had drawn faces. One kid had to go to the principal because he drew like a giant penis and that kind of stuff, which is typical. But she came to me and she was like, oh my God, is this
good?
Is this real? And I was like, what do you mean? You know, and I had pretty much photorealistically painted what was on the magazine.
You don't happen to have that canvas anymore.
I don't.
Wouldn't that be cool?
And I just looked at it. I remember thinking, I do have a painting that I did after that. My parents framed, which is cool. And I remember looking at it going, God, that felt really good. But I didn't want to admit to my friends who didn't take it seriously that I liked it. 3 weeks later, I'm called into the office with my parents for a meeting. And here's my, you know, Harvard MIT father who's just walking in all proper. And my mother from Brooklyn, New York's like, oh my God, Edward, what have you done? What the hell have you done now? You know, and I'm like, I have no idea what is going on. And the art teacher comes in and goes, Mr. and Mrs. Trask, I brought you here just to say what I'm seeing from this kid I've never seen before in my students. I think he lives in the other side of the brain than you guys do. And the reason why he's getting C's and D's in his classes is, well, because I have ADHD. They didn't know that then. They were just like, you know, that wasn't even a thing then. But they were like, he's an artist, he's a creative, and he's never going to see things the way you see it. So I think we should push him in this other direction. And my father, instead of being like, you lazy sack, you should be, he was like, wow, okay. And then he did it. He would take me to endless drum lessons, to endless painting lessons. Like, he would take me to shows constantly at the National Gallery, different galleries. He pushed it, and I was so lucky to have that.
That's incredible. So what year did you come to VCU?
I got here in 86.
Okay, 86. And so then, all right, between 86, you were living like in the Gray Street kind of area, off campus, VCU. What was that? And you jumped into bands. What was next? How did you, like, that feels like an amazing leap of faith to be like, all right, I'm a kid making art, whether it's music or fine art in the city in this kind of grimy, grungy city. to like professional artists? What was that progression like on the, I guess on the fine art side? Well, music and fine art.
It was rough. I think, that's back when VCU gave what I call more of like a postmodern type education.
Okay.
I didn't graduate VCU knowing how to write a proper proposal
Right.
to a gallery. Like, I didn't leave VCU knowing how to be a professional artist. I left VCU knowing how to be an academic and set to go into graduate school and continue, but I didn't know how to do the other stuff, so I had to kind of find out
Right.
by failure and screwing up on my own. And then the other thing was, I was playing punk rock music.
Right.
I was skateboarding. I was doing all the kind of stuff that I think was a generation that turned. Oh man, I think it was a generation that kind of wanted to rebel against what they were telling
Right.
us to do.
Right.
And so when I left, I had already started a gallery and I was already doing
Wow.
illegal paintings all over the city. And
Okay. Murals.
And some
Right.
of the mainstream galleries that wanted my work, or that I wanted to show in, wouldn't take my work.
Okay.
And so it was like my junior year of college. I went, well, screw you then. I'm going to take the city and make it my canvas, and I'm just going to start putting paintings up whether you want it or not.
So this is like late 80s.
Yeah,
Okay.
going into 90. And then, right. And then I also was, I was drinking too much. I was partying too much. I was taking a lot of it for granted.
Yeah.
And then I had an intervention from three professors that basically
wow.
pulled me aside and said, you're wasting your time. You're not taking it serious enough. We see potential, and we think, you need to figure out what you want to do in your life.
Yeah.
Which made me immediately, really upset, but it made me just give them the middle finger and be like, F you, I'm going to show you what I can do. Sorry if I can't curse on you.
Yeah, you're good.
They're like, I'm going to show you that I can do this.
Right.
So I quit VCU. I opened a gallery. I opened up this massive art studio.
By yourself? With friends?
With a friend. Well, the gallery opened up with 4 friends.
Okay.
Me and old friend Austin, we opened up a huge warehouse, and then down the basement, bands practice, and the band was in practice.
Where was it?
120 West Marshall. It's where
Okay.
James Lefton is with Big Secret.
Okay.
And next to it is now Art 180. And so we had that whole warehouse. It was
Okay.
it was heaven.
It's amazing.
And people were scared of Jackson Ward. It was like, oh my
Right.
God, Jackson Ward's.
And it was probably dirt cheap.
I love Jackson.
Yeah.
Ward. It was dirt cheap. And so once I had about a year on my own and doing this,
Yeah.
then I realized, you know what? I don't want to drink as much. I don't want to party as much, but I really want this education.
Right.
So I remember calling up my folks and being like, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to go back and finish that last 3/4 of a year at VCU to get my degree. And they're like, good luck.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I need some money for tuition. And like, I bet you do. And it was like, oh my God. So I sold my truck. I took all these extra art history classes, and I fell in love with painting and art again. And then as soon as I left, I was doing all the illegal paintings. I was doing all this art. I started getting some gallery shows. But within 2 days of graduating, I just threw it all away and was like, I'm going to Washington, D.C. to join this band, the Holy Rollers. They were the old Discord band.
Okay.
And we're going to tour Europe and tour all over and write a record for Discord Records. And I was like, I'm on. So I just bolted.
Wow.
And yeah.
So you kind of set aside fine art, or did you not? Or did you paint when you were in Europe?
I kept.
This is punk. What kind of music was
This
this?
is punk rock. So
Okay.
I kept painting, and this is before 9/11. So whenever we go on tour, and especially like European tours, I would bring a whole paint kit,
Right.
and I was doing illegal art everywhere. So I had
Like murals.
yeah. So I had a giant painting of John Cage a block away from the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam. I just started pumping out legal paintings in Germany, Spain, like everywhere.
Right.
And squats all over,
You were Banksy before Banksy, man.
Well, I'd seen Banksy stuff early.
No
like some
way.
of his monkeys that he was just starting to weed
You saw
paste.
that stuff early?
Oh, I loved it.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so, and that was also a time when music and what I was doing in public art, the illegal art, was in a regionalistic scene. So,
Yeah.
we didn't have a phone to go, holy shit, look what Banksy's doing in London or any of that stuff. I would go to a town and just meet friends, and we would keep up via phone and
Right.
actual snail mail.
Right.
And
Literal
send letters and zines
Right.
and stuff back and
Right.
forth. And that's how you kept up. And it was awesome,
Yeah.
And I don't know.
So how long were you doing that? How long were you in Europe?
So Well, we were back and forth Europe
Back and
touring.
forth,
So
okay.
I was actually living in DC proper, and then
Okay.
I did that about 3 years.
Okay.
And it was really violent where I was living.
Oh, wow.
And so DC back then was pretty rough.
Truly dangerous.
It was, and so I ended up. I was finished with the bands, like that had kind of run its course, and so finally there was a Richmond band, this band called Keepone that I joined, and they were looking for a drummer.
Okay.
And it was a reason for me to move back to Richmond. So I left and came back to Richmond, joined that band, and then we did a record with Touch and Go Records, a Chicago small label, and then we ended up doing the whole tour route. So I spent, maybe 8 years touring with them, and then I joined another band, Veil, after that, and I toured with them for another 6 years.
And so it sounds like really the music, it was never one or the other. It was always both at the same time.
Always both, and every time I was doing both, I always had a studio, I always had paintings rolling.
Right.
And I always had, got into some kind of shows or something.
Were these things paying the bills at the time, or did you have to have other jobs at that point?
I had to have other jobs.
Yeah.
I hung drywall, I was a bike messenger for 3 years. I did everything.
Did you work at Millie's? I feel like you told me that
I worked
once.
at Millie's for a long time, and I loved Millie's, and it was
It's a classic Richmond internship right there,
It is, and I tell you what, it's like I've done a full podcast like this that just talked about how important it is for everybody to work at a restaurant, and how unbelievable it is when you have a crew of people that get up early knowing you're going to be weeded all day. It was going to be an absolute stress fest.
Right.
And then somehow together as this unit, you make it through it.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people leave happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? You've made crazy money. You fight. You do. But at the end, you all came back together, bonded.
Right.
And you maybe
Partied.
drank too much, party. You did whatever you did, and then you came back the next morning and you did it again. But it taught you how to not judge people. It taught you how to take adversity. It taught you how to be completely weeded with stress in your life.
Yeah.
And somehow breathe through it and find a way through it. And it was so important.
So that's all through the 90s, I guess into the 2000s. At what point could you call yourself a professional artist?
Well, I was, I think Keepone is ending. I mean, I just started doing some touring with Veil, and
what year would this be?
90-something, 98 maybe. And then at that point, my wife was like, you should probably stop working at Millie's.
Right.
And my daughter's getting ready. Wanted to have kids and that kind of thing. But anyway, I remember I'm in Florida. I can't remember what for. When I get a call from the owner of Millie's, he's like, Ed, you're fired. And I was like, what?
What'd I do?
Reason,
right, yeah.
And he's just like, you're fired. And we came back, had a huge blow up. And then it basically came like, you're fired because you don't need to be here anymore. Like,
right.
You've got your art stuff is taken off. And my wife was so awesome. She's like, look, our daughter's coming. Our daughter's here. I know you're trying to work this restaurant job and all this other stuff just because you're scared, but if you have faith in the universe, it'll pay off.
Wow.
Just work.
Yeah.
And I've always had that. So she was right. I love her so much for that. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I just put my faith in it, and it worked. Like jobs just kept coming in. Mural jobs kept coming in.
That's what I was going to ask. What is it like to flip that switch and be like, all right, there's no day job to fall back on. Like, I now need to sell art. I got to get people to pay me for this.
It's an endless hustle. And then it's also, when you take that leap of faith, you realize, like for me, there were not a lot of mural artists in Richmond. And so what I was doing was something that was a novelty in the sense that it was bringing identity to certain neighborhoods. And when other neighborhoods and businesses saw that, they were like, I want to be a part of that.
Right.
And so many murals that I did, I was doing for nothing. I just knew I had to get my stuff out there.
Yeah.
And I was still, at that point in time, if I saw a wall, my palms started sweating like I just wanted it,
And you drove past it.
Yeah, so you just did it to do it. And once you realize, I got to hustle constantly.
Right.
Like, I've got to make this mortgage
payment.
I've got a family. And it got nerve-wracking, but it kept coming in. But it was an ebb and flow. There were a lot of times where we were like, dude, what do we do? What do we do? It's like, I can't feed the kid oodles and noodles again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the flow would come right then. My wife, especially back then, she was teaching yoga, and I was an art teacher. And it's like we were living in a small house in the East End that we had bought, But we were so happy.
Yeah.
I mean, and that leads to a conversation. My daughter was very young. She goes, Dad, are we rich? And I just kind of started laughing. And then I realized, oh shit, this is a very important moment.
There's an opportunity here, right?
So I just went, didn't we just travel to Ireland? She's like, yeah. I was like, didn't we just go to Mag's Head and
right.
all of our friends, we went surfing for 2 weeks. She's
right.
like, yeah. I was like, if we make money, we spend our money on travel.
Right.
And we define our lives through how other people live.
Right.
So I was like, that makes us rich.
I don't know. Just do you feel rich when we do these things?
And she was like, okay, I like that. We're rich. I was like,
right.
we're definitely rich.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious about like murals versus, I mean, you do lots of work on commission now. People know who you are, that kind of thing. But especially in those early days, I feel like you hinted at it. Like the context of a mural, where you're painting it and what you're painting. You've done so much work that I feel like is like hyper local, right? For a neighborhood or a specific restaurant, right? Like I think about the one on Elwood Thompson's,
right.
Or like the one on Millie's, right? Wasn't that like a Route 5 corridor thing?
That was for Route 5.
What do you someone commissions a painting, they can put it in their bathroom if they want to. Once you're out of there, right, it's theirs. Whereas a mural takes up a different space in like a city landscape.
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, it goes back to the mural painting, the drug and the addiction for me came, the very first illegal one I did, I put it up on the wall and...
Would you put it on like plywood or something and put that up?
I did that a bunch. This one I painted directly to
on the
wall. And as I was painting it, I did it in broad daylight. I had a jumpsuit on with a fake company name on the back.
Yeah, nice.
And I even made a fake letter from a business owner that wasn't real.
Oh
so if a cop came,
amazing.
I was like, well, this person hired
this guy, yeah.
Anyway, so in broad daylight, I paint a painting of Isaac Bashevis Singer. I had been reading one of his books. I can't even remember. And I was like, oh, I love this guy. I'm going to do a painting of him.
I'm going to honor this guy, right.
I finish it, and I'm sitting up on a hill across the street, and I watch this gentleman walk past it, and it looks like he had come off of like a 3-cocktail lunch. Like he's a little whatever. And he walks and he looks at the painting, and then all of a sudden he sees it. He's like, whoa, what is this? And then he does the kind of art, like hand to the chin, takes some time, he looks at it, and then he goes, God, that sucks. And I was on the other side behind him. He has no idea I'm watching this. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I got to him. Like it hit me like, when you do this kind of painting, it's for everybody. It's objectionable, they can love it or hate it, but I just presented art to anybody, any community, for them to love, hate, do whatever they want. They can even paint over, it didn't matter. And so when I paint a mural now for where the neighborhood is, whatever the condition is, I know that I'm doing something that I'm giving back to a larger community, in the hopes that, especially now when I'm painting, I try to strip my ego from it in the hopes that I'm leaving, I don't know, kind of like a inspiration for another generation of creatives to take something on.
Right.
And I leave these connectors in the mural so that people can connect their own life to it.
Right.
And maybe be inspired to do something from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to be able to do that is awesome. Yeah. As opposed to, I can do a canvas and give it to you, and it can be something that means so much, and you can have some tears, but then, like you said, it could end up in the bathroom, it could be in the garage sale 20 years later. You just don't know.
Right.
The murals are transient.
Right.
They're going to be gone.
Yeah, people paint over them, right?
They paint over them all the
New
time.
New owners. Right.
So it's like, the hope is that, you leave a kind of legacy of creative thought when you do it.
Right.
But dude, just the idea that anybody can be on there, can see that painting. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Talking records of Foreigner, Boston, Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East, and then this record store in Leesburg, Virginia got Black Flag My War, and I remember I was like, what is this? I was like, oh my God. And then they got in And God We Trust, Dead Kennedys, and then all of a sudden I found Discord Records, and because we were 50 miles out of DC and we were just turning 16 and people had, we were like, there's a show at DC Space. Like, so we started going to shows, and I was like, fuck metal. I love I want to be a punk rocker, but then I still love metal so much. So I was playing all of it, you know.
That's so cool.
Over and over, Foreigner chops, Brooklyn, and all that crap. It was awesome.
You still play?
Oh yeah. So this weekend, the Holy Rollers were on Disco Records, and we did all these functions for Positive Force.
Okay.
And Positive Force is a protest group that has done amazing things, and they were the ones that would put like Fugazi on the Capitol stairs when Fugazi was just starting, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Giant shows in the park, and they would raise money for different charitable events, charitable things that were happening that they thought would help a certain community. And for this one, we were doing a benefit for the Gaza soup kitchen. So we're trying to raise money to actually get some food into Gaza. This is last weekend. So it was their 40-year reunion, so they asked the band that I last played in 30 years ago.
Oh my God.
How crazy is that?
It's Holy Rollers.
Holy Rollers, to rejoin and play a set. So we decided we would do it. We started getting together and going back and forth here in DC to practice. And then we played with this band, Soulside, Girls Against Boys, Scream, like all these old DC bands.
Okay.
And it was awesome.
That's cool.
Like, it was awesome.
That's
and so
awesome.
Tons of people came.
And where was it?
In Washington, D.C.
Oh, it was in D.C.,
It was at this
okay.
old church, St. Stephen's Church. It was just so cool.
That's cool.
And we raised a bunch of money, and now that band, Holy Rollers, is going to start doing, we're going to play Black Cat, we're going to do probably a New York show, and then we're already talking about doing like maybe 2 weeks in Europe, just a small little quick tour.
Dude, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But then I have my drums set up everywhere. So I have drums at the house. I have like 3 sets in my studio.
Okay.
And so this morning, I mean, like what the usual thing is, I'll go play drums for a little bit, paint, and do whatever. And so I'm on a job now for VCU, a mural outside. So this morning I got to the studio pretty early, started playing drums, painted a little bit, and then once we said 11 o'clock here, it was like, you know what, I'm not going to go fry on this mural for a while. I'd rather do this, and then after I'll go fry for a while.
Then you will fry, yeah.
Where
Where is it in VCU?
Sherwood Avenue. It's the Children's Hospital, the Behavioral Health Center.
Oh, is that the one on North Side? Like,
it is North Side.
Kind of near the Diamond?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Beautiful, beautiful place, but man, the people that run it and the woman who runs, who brings in the art for VCU is just has an awesome head on her shoulders.
That's cool.
She's pretty cool.
So I feel like I want to fast forward a little bit to today, because you are as sort of well-known a name, I feel like, as there is in Richmond art. I mean, the VMFA owns Picasso's, Monet's, and Trask's.
Yeah.
Like, when I say that out loud, like, what is that? You've reached a point now, like, from that beginning that you described in grungy, gritty Richmond to literally, they own, what, the Bill's Barbecue, which is one of my favorites,
They
by
own
the
Bill's
way.
Barbecue, and I did a painting of Fulton Gasworks, and they bought that as well.
Okay. Like, what was that like? That moment where, like, hey, the VMFA wants to buy this from you.
Dude, that was a dream come true in a sense, because what was happening was I was trying to, I had started with John Belial's the RVA Street Art Festival.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, and we were trying to raise money for the Street Art Festival.
Okay.
And I'd had a couple meetings with Alex from.
How long ago was this?
Yeah, man, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a meeting with him, and Michael, the new curator there, we were just talking art and painting, and then I was pretty much making like a $10,000 ask. I was like, we need 10 grand for this festival. We talked, and they're like, we'll get back to you. And when I left, I guess Michael and then another trustee at the museum were basically like, why don't you have one of his paintings? Which I didn't know was going to come about. And so then they come to me and they're like, how about if we'll give the Street Art Festival this chunk of money, and how about if we give you this chunk of money for a painting? And it was out of left field. I was like, are you kidding me? They're like, no.
Right.
I was like, all my paintings are sold. Like, I don't have anything open right now. And they're like, no, we're going to commission you. I was like, you want to commission a painting for me for the permanent collection?
For the VMFA, right.
And so it was a huge honor.
Such a cool honor.
And then it was a weird time because
So you painted the Bill's Barbecue and the Fulton Gas
I had
Works.
done this. Well, the Fulton Gas Works they bought later. The Bill's Barbecue, I had painted a smaller version of it.
Okay.
And someone had seen it, and Michael had seen it. So they were like, "We want a bigger version of this. We want you to paint it however you want to paint it."
Right.
I was like, "Okay."
What do you think drew them to that one?
The sense that it was a conversation, it was a storyline about kind of the antiquities of Richmond itself.
Yeah.
Like I think everybody saw the development happening, and not just Scott's Addition exploding, but I think the idea of the old family-run businesses, the U-Crops, the Bill's Barbecues, and really what Boulevard was and what a lot of Richmond was starting to fade away. It was becoming reinvented.
Right.
Whether it be via gentrification, whether it was good or bad, that's not for me to say, but I identified with the older storylines of the inhabitants before. So that's what I love painting.
And I think there's an era, a generation of Richmonders, and I got here just in time. I'm not from Richmond, but got here in 2000, and I think about, Bill's Barbecue is it's almost like that entryway. You're coming off 95, and you come down Boulevard, and there's that, and there's the old Peep Show, that's now in Suboca, and there's all these places that are all gone now. And you said, no judgment, but you see it, and immediately you're taken back in time to a place that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, so if I could bring that storyline, I'm there. And I think, that's what the VMFA was attracted to, which I was very excited. But I tell you, the weird thing was, so we're not raising enough money for the Street Art Festival when they want that. So I ended up selling my painting it, selling it to the VMFA, and then donating probably almost 80% of it to the Street Art Festival. I just stuck it in there to get that rolling.
Right.
So I didn't get paid very much for that painting, but it didn't matter. The other thing that was just simply bizarre was that we make enough money for the Street Art Festival, and this one's going to be at the Diamond.
The next one.
Well, no, the one that we raised the money for.
At that time, okay.
And so the painting's just finished, and the board at the VMFA is like, we want to do an event for you.
Yeah.
And so you're handing it off to us, even though I'd already given it to him.
Yeah.
I was like, that's crazy.
It's amazing.
So all my family's going to come in, and it's going to be this cool event. Street Art Festival happens to be that same weekend. And so I have it set up with all these corporate softball games on the field, murals all around the Diamond, and my daughter's doing one. And so on the day, right before I'm getting ready to get, an acceptance thing and have the head of the VMFA say thank you for your painting.
Right.
At the Street Art Festival, I go up and my daughter is in roller skates, doing circles, painting a mural with her friend, and I'm like, this is heaven.
Yeah, this is
and she's painting a Jackie Robinson painting, and I'm so stoked, and murals are going up everywhere, which is just lovely, and the event is working.
Right.
And then I go down to the field, and my little son is on the field playing with Dominion Power in a softball game.
Right.
And he's on the field. I look over at him, and he smiles, and I'm like, life does not get any better than this, right? And then my phone rings. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I pick up my phone. It's my mother. She's like, your father just had a stroke.
Jesus.
I'm like, this is not real. Is this the duality of life? Is this what always seems to happen? And so I put the phone back in. I figure I was like, I gotta go. And I call my sister, and she's like, no, he's in the hospital. He's gonna be okay. We think he's gonna be fine. We're not coming tomorrow. Obviously, I was like, no, but I'm coming home. She's like, no. You are getting your award. You're doing this.
Do the VMFA thing.
Do the VMFA thing, and then come right after. And so I'm a mess at the VMFA thing. So I'm supposed to be like, hey, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm a mess.
Right.
And then I go to the hospital right after, and my father passes away an hour later. Jesus. And so I watched him die, and it was, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And so I sat there with that realization that the most profound thing in my life was watching my wife deliver our kids.
Right.
The absolute power that she could do that was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Ungodly to me.
Right.
Or very godly, maybe, for lives.
Right.
And then watching my father's vessel of a figure, the body was done.
Yeah.
And so, when there was a moment where I'm sitting in the hospital room with all the family, and we were wailing, and then we kind of stopped crying. I looked out the window at Fairfax Hospital, and there's a water tower, and all of a sudden you see this murmuration of purple martins just swooped around and went right past our window.
Right.
And I'm just bawling. I look at my sister, and she's like, God, I'm just like bawling out thinking about it. But I was like, did you see that?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. I was like, I swear to God, that just took Dad's spirit away. She goes, I think it did, So we felt really good about that. So that is what hits you sometimes, and I try to put it into my kids. It's like, dude, some of the greatest moments are going to happen in your life. They're always going to be tempered with some really awful times, but some of the most easiest things are going to come to you, and some of the hardest things are going to all be focused together. Crazy. It's that duality of life. Just be ready for it. And same thing with being my wife. As long as I've been with her, it hasn't been the easiest at all times, but it kind of has. I mean, in a way, like we've worked at it, but I'm so glad that we've put in the work to be together. You know? I've got plenty of friends that didn't. They were just like, oh, this sucks. We're gone. And so hopefully that goes to the kids and they see that.
Yeah.
But I will say, oh God, I don't know if I should say this on this podcast.
I mean, we're better.
Yeah, so I got that painting, the Bill's Barbecue. A friend of mine, he works there at the VMFA. He's an amazing art handler, painter, and musician. It's got Tim Harris. Sent me a picture of my painting. It's being boxed up. And I'm like, this thing's going to be sent to a show. And for me, that was a dream come true. Like, it's going to be part of a traveling show somewhere. So other people outside of Richmond are going to see my art. And he's like, no, it's going to Governor Youngkin's mansion. And the governor had just, hand-picked paintings for his office. And I was really honored. Thank you, to the governor for that. But at that point in time, I was just vehemently against his policies. Let's just put it that way. I don't think him as a human being, I have nothing against him, and I was really honored he would pick my painting. Yeah. But then I called them as like, hey, I don't really want my painting hanging in the governor's mansion. And they were just like, what is wrong with you? Like, that's a huge honor. Right. And just because you politically don't agree with the governor doesn't mean you have any right to not want your painting there, because basically you signed off your right to this painting.
It's not your painting.
Not your painting. Yeah. So they went there, and it was a big honor. And I have a lot of friends that sit more on the side of where Youngkin is, and some of the more red, not liberal friends, and I love them for that. Whatever, they can do that. I don't talk politics with them. I don't get heated because I know it's not going to go anywhere.
There's no point.
And so, whatever.
Yeah, and that's tough, right? Like it's your art, and then it's not.
It's not.
Right? It's not.
Yeah, and
I mean, there's a similar thing going on with Michael Broth and the Padel plant down there, right?
So that was a street art festival thing, and so we did that. That mural festival happened 12 years ago, the initial one, and we redid it again. And that's a good example of
along the canal.
Right. That was the first one. When John Beliles and I started that, we had no money. We had massive ideas.
Right.
I went to friends I knew from Street Art Festival, and Michael Broth really helped with ideas. My friend Caesar helped with ideas. My friend James Marshall, who went under Dalek, helped with ideas. But I basically signed contracts with artists in New York and all around, Chicago, for them to come to Richmond to paint murals for this festival without any money.
Yeah.
And I was basically at least 60 grand in the hole.
Oh my gosh.
And so John and I had faith that this was gonna work. And we had some people like, Altria, Dominion Power, some of the bigger corporations were like, we'll put some money in, kind of thing. But we didn't have it all. And so finally, we ended up getting the money. I thought I was going to have to remortgage my house. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought it was pure failure. But I just took that leap of faith. It happens. It's a huge success.
Right.
And then as that is happening, and there's like 4,000 people crammed in there, the head of GRTC at that time walked past with a friend of mine.
Right.
A friend of mine's like, what do you want to do next? And I didn't know who the person was next to her. And I was like, that old GRTC bus trolley depot in the fan?
Yeah.
It's like, I want to take over that whole area, that whole 3 acres, and put murals and collaborations with people from the city, the Valentine Museum, U of R. I want to completely reinvent that place.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and goes, well then, young man, I need you to come talk to me next week. And was like, are you kidding me? And so next thing you know, we are taking over the GRTC plant. So it kept spreading.
Yeah.
Fast forward 10 years later, and we're back at the Hexel Power Plant to redo it. Now the Street Art Festival is a full-on 501c3 with a board.
Right.
And so it's not just me making decisions and John making decisions.
You and
it's just the
John,
whole board. So there were a couple murals I didn't want to see go.
Yeah.
But it's not up to me.
Right.
And so the board voted to get rid of, like, you know, one that said Richmond that a friend of mine did, and another owl that Jeff Soto had done. And the community loved those murals. But they got painted over for a new generation of people that were kids when that first one went up and are now painting murals pretty much as they were inspired by the initial mural festival. And for us, that was a huge thing to say, look what this did. This inspired a new generation of creative artists that are really swinging hard. So so that goes up. 2 years, a year and a half later, 2 years later, we get word that some kids from DC have bought it, with their parents have bought it pretty much, an investor and a person here from Telheimer's to open up paddle and pickleball.
And pickleball, right.
So we're not anti-development, so we were like, oh, that sounds awesome. You know, hopefully we can be in talks with trying to preserve some of this. Because at that point it was a big park. Anybody could be there. And so, it turns out their plan was not. It was to pretty much cover it with glass, and the whole outside they were going to turn into paddle courts.
Right.
So we really went back and forth, like, look, you know, even the idea of, like, if you just make it a pickleball court on the outside, but open. So it's almost like, you know, some of those awesome handball courts in New York City with murals all over the place, but it's open to anybody. So that was our hope. But it wouldn't work for their business plan, and that is what it is. So finally, the artists themselves, the Street Art Festival went to them and were like, look, you own the copyright to those murals. So you will have all the right to...
So it doesn't matter who owns the wall?
No.
Interesting. Okay.
And when we did it was basically a big open park. So those murals were done for a big open park for everybody, the whole community.
Right.
Now it's become private, and we were like, they cannot use your imagery without having a licensing agreement with you.
Okay.
And so when that was happening, me and Michael Broth, who are board members of the Street Art Festival, we were just full on flat, like, we don't want our murals up. No offense, but we just don't want our paintings up for your business. That's not why we did this.
Right.
I didn't do a giant painting of a huge, you know, vulture
to help your business,
your pickleball business. And the reason why I did that painting to begin with was because Nils had just painted a huge possum on the other side, and I was like, ooh, a possum, like another creature you either love or hate. I'm gonna do a giant vulture because people love them or hate them.
Yep.
Anyway, so they went back and forth for licensing agreements, and then I don't think they ever came to an agreement.
Yeah.
And so now it looks like they're going to be painting over a majority of those murals.
Dang.
And so that's getting ready to happen. And we tried. And like I said, I'm not anti-development and
right.
You know, but I do know that you can track so many increases in economic development in this city via street art, via the murals that we've done, and it's mainly because those
it'd be fun to see that correlation.
And that change, that renaissance, is so emblematic of the absolute growth in culinary, and obviously in distilleries and in you know, breweries, and the leap of faith the Hardywoods and the Ardents and all those smaller breweries were doing. They're like, we're doing this, and that's what we were doing. It was a leap of faith that our community needed this. That changed the whole fabric of our community. And when we asked those guys, like, well, what drew you to this old power plant? And they were like, well, we saw there was something for the city of Richmond, and we saw that huge place on the canal with all the murals. So we decided that'd be a cool thing. The murals brought you there. You know? It's a double-edged sword sometimes. And so that's the main thing we wanted to make sure to present to the artists that have their art up. It's like, art's a powerful thing. It's your powerful thing. And whatever you're leaving it for, if it's just for the public and everybody, and then if everybody can't come to it, then get rid of it if you don't want it to be for that little small pocket, you know. And so, who knows if that paddle company will last? They might, and they might find their community, and that's great, because I wanted to see that building come to use. I didn't like it seeing it sit, but I do want a new generation of entrepreneurs coming into the city to understand why so many young entrepreneurs and so many young house owners are drawn to the city. And it isn't just because of the river. It definitely is. The river's a big part of it, but it's because of a lot of the hard work that a lot of young artists and chefs and, you know, I mean, some really scrappy people did to make this city what it is now.
Yeah.
That's one of the major things. No one really understands that story and how the artist developed. And so explaining that, I think, is really, really important. Like, academic community is going to be so relieved to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of fear about, oh, can they just go in and take everything from these artists? Like, the licensing thing that you said is what I personally wanted to hear. I wanted to know that they still had rights, you know?
They certainly have rights. And then there's the VAR Act that, so I got on how many years ago, but there was an artist, muralist Kent Twitchell, which I got to meet. I spent a week at the Philadelphia Mural Arts Project years ago and just hung out with them and learned so many tricks, but met Kent Twitchell there. And he was the first artist to use the Visual Artists' Rights Act. And what happened was in Los Angeles, he had painted this massive Ed Ruscha, the artist, and it was huge. And it identified this building that on the bottom had a YWCA, and it had all these nonprofits in it. And so he painted it, he got paid to pay it, but he didn't get paid enough, it didn't matter. And so we're talking an 80-foot photorealistic of this guy, and it became something that was an identifier for that area. People would be like, well, where is it? Like, just go take 7, and then you'll see the giant Ed Ruscha painting. Then that's where it is, you know, that kind of thing. So the owner of the city decides they want to get rid of it. They sell it to an owner, to a private developer's return apartments. He immediately goes up and paints over it without asking the guy or the community, just does it. And Kent Twitchell was like, do I have any rights for this?
Right.
And his lawyer was the first entertainment lawyer to realize that he did, was like, you actually do. Sued him for like a couple $1 million, and he won.
I'll be right back. Check something.
And that was the first contested like muralist using the Visual Arts Rights Act thing. And so when that happened with the paddle plant, we were basically like, look guys, if this was seen as a public park and you made this area iconic because of your murals, so now it's being reinvented by a business. So unless they give you licensing or if they paint over it, you have all the rights to sue them under the VAR Act. And so that was one of the discussions, is like, do you want to do a group lawsuit against them? And they still could if they want to. I don't know if they're going to, but me, I wanted out of it. I was just like, just paint over my shit. I don't want to be there.
It wasn't like the purpose.
It wasn't the purpose. And I mean, it's so weird as an artist, like, and I know you guys know that feeling of working so hard and then it's gone. It's like, I did a mural for, what's the name of the place? The Park. This, crazy establishment. It's got the indoor golf. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It's just crazy. And when they asked me to do a mural, John Mills, who I just love to death as part of the Street Art Festival, he was asked to do some of the creative stuff. And so he's like, you have an idea for a mural around the whole building? And I did what I did almost as a joke. Like, there's no way they're going to go for this. Because I was using all the colors from an old Hobie surfboard ad. Like, they're not going to go for this. And the guy's like, yes, I want it. I was like, oh, shit. So I spent 2 months on that thing. It was awful. In the middle of summer, like, doing that thing, it was terrible. It was like, oh my God. Oh, it was way high up. And I'm like, this sucks. And so I paint it. Then they're like, we want you to paint something on this indoor room we have. It's going to be for weddings and all this stuff. And that is 200 feet by 20 feet, like a huge space. And I'm like, I'll do what I'm doing with the angles, but I'll make it more organic, and I'm going to make it all based off of rhythms. And they're like, we love this idea. So I come in, I show them the colors, I bring my drum set in, and I make the first 2 lines, and then I would play drums until I saw what I wanted and be like, oh yes, and I'd go up and paint it.
That's awesome.
So that took a month. So the whole mural's done. They call me in 3 months later to see if I could touch up another mural that was painted in there. And I was like, you should just call the person that did it, not me. And they're like, let's take a look. And then he goes, also, I have an idea for the back. And I was like, where my mural is? And he goes, you're going to be mad. This is the guy who runs it. Nicest guy, not runs it, but he like does all the maintenance. And I was like, what do you mean? Go into the room, and it was all flat black. And I was like, no way. You painted over the mural flat black? And they're like, they decided they wanted to use it as an event thing, and their demographic shifted, and they just wanted more of a party dance night. So they wanted to have it flat so they could put in lights and make it a rave type dance place.
Oh my God.
You paid me that much money. I spent a month doing this really cool mural I loved, and 2 months later, you just painted over black.
Right.
Like, well, yeah, it's our business. And I was like, you're right. It's your business. Nothing I can do. But that stuff happens all the time, and you know, that is just part of it. And I sucked that one up.
Yeah.
But I still had the chance to do it, and the painting. I remember how it
Hopefully
looked.
you took pictures of it.
I did. I took pictures. It was a bizarre one. It was really abstract, but it was so much fun to not have to paint something representational.
Ed, you're a fisherman. 2 months ago, man, like this area, you know, when the stripers and shad and alewife and everything's in, it's like, you could there's 20 herons there, 20 over there, you know, 20 ospreys.
Oh, yeah. I went out a week ago, and the stripers had just left. And I was out here, I was out at 5 in the morning. Not here, but I was down a little bit farther up in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the water had just gone down far enough where I felt okay wading in it.
Yeah.
And then I realized as I was out, I was like, wait a minute. What the fuck are all the blue herons? And then I realized, oh no, the striper have gone.
Yeah,
I
that's how
didn't
you know.
anything. I was like, oh,
Right.
man.
Yeah, and it's, needless to say, like, the birds know what they're doing. So when there's 50 of them, that means there's fish to be caught.
I'd love the idea of being able to, if I could just be in that heron's body for like an hour.
Right. Or just have the osprey's eyes, right? Like
man,
the
they're gonna
polarized
see.
vision from 100 feet up. You're like, there's my guy.
We did this. So we did this. The Southern States Street Art
Right.
Festival.
Yeah,
right?
that's
and
you
then
guys.
One time when at one point when that festival was happening, I was pointing to people. I was like, look, farther down from 14th Street, there's these 3 bald eagles, and and 2 of them you'll see playing with each other. It's like then you'll see sometimes the ospreys get pissed at them, and then you'll see a ton of fishing from the ospreys and stuff. And as I'm talking, we look up, and it's the first time I've ever seen this. I saw an osprey just go farther and farther and farther up. I was like, holy shit, what is that bird doing? And then he just went,
Right.
and tucked his wings, and it looked like a jet.
Right.
He just came straight down, and he took out, because I don't think they did this, but he took out a bird. He just annihilated
Oh, not a
it.
fish in the water.
No, he
was
out
coming after a bird below him.
because something was coming after him, and he was like, he'd had enough of it. I had never seen it. Was unreal.
That's crazy.
Stunning.
That's
Anyway.
incredible. All right, well, we've done this with a few of our guests.
Oh, no.
Have a little fun at the end. Always try to keep it fresh. You're a dad, father of 2. You know any good?
Yeah.
You know any good dad jokes?
Oh, God.
Are you a dad joke guy?
Yeah. I can't believe I don't know. I just heard some, and I can't remember. Oh, no, man.
Matt Perry had a good one. I can tell you that one. Another friend just gave me a new one. The elephant. There's an elephant, and he asks a naked man, "How do you breathe out of that thing?" It's terrible.
Okay, I kind of
It's
like
so
that.
bad.
Okay, what is the other one?
Dad joke. Oh, you know what? Have you been to the new amphitheater yet? The new
haven't.
Riverfront Amphitheater?
Yeah, I haven't.
Gotta get a veil or the Holy Rollers there, man. I just saw Boys to Men there, obviously. I mean, I think I was texting these guys.
We skipped her.
Ed, I didn't see you there. It was weird. I thought maybe you'd be there, but
Yeah, I tried.
Boys to Men was amazing.
Really
Like,
good?
It was actually amazing. Like, you talk about people that they're 53 years old, been doing this for 30 years. I think they said 33, and they are not mailing it in. Their voices were amazing. They're doing Prince covers, Bruno Mars, the 6 songs that you didn't realize you knew from Boys to Men. I promise you know them or have heard them,
Wow.
and they're still bangers. You know what I mean? Like, it was amazing.
You know, the last big show like that I saw was our big show, the show I didn't expect. My kid, I was in New York for something, I can't remember, but my wife, I got tickets for Childish Gambino at the Barclays Center for everybody.
Right?
And it turned out I was the only person that could make it. So I'm sitting there
By yourself.
By myself with mega fans. The place is sold out. Barclays Center's a big place.
Yeah.
He comes out, I'm like, this is gonna be awful.
Right.
Dude, so good. Like,
Right.
he put it out there. I was like, how is this dude doing this?
Right.
And then what I found out was that after like 4 concerts, he canceled. He couldn't. He was like, I'm done. I've
was
already
too
got
much.
pneumonia. Like, I'm
Right.
dehydrated. He was done.
And
So
you saw one of them.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have a dad joke, but I do have a dad practical joke. So,
Okay, here we go.
my friend Bo, great architect, and him and I do a lot of fly fishing together, and we surfed a lot together growing up, kind of thing. And him and I went through college together. That dude, whenever we'd go up in the mountains to go fly fishing, he always puts on the Grateful Dead.
Okay.
And I'm being like an old hardcore kid, I'm just not a Grateful Dead lover.
Yeah.
You know, and
Not
my
your
wife is definitely an anti-Grateful Dead person. We love Deadheads, don't worry, whatever. Like it's like my friend Chris said, I love the Grateful Dead. I just don't like the music or the people. So I'm like, so you just like the drugs?
the idea.
He's like, yeah. I was like, I got you.
Drugs.
But anyway, I'm down looking at this building that he has a meeting at, and I come back to my truck, and it's a new truck. I just bought this new Tacoma. And he put on it, that had no stickers, I don't want any stickers on it, but he had put this Grateful Dead sticker on it. And that thing is like on. I couldn't get it off. I was like, you little shit.
Right.
Never fessed up to it, right? And didn't fess up to it, but I knew it was him.
Right.
So I was like, I got to get him. And so my son and I were going to a tournament in Florida, and we stopped at this truck stop, old school truck stop. I mean, old school, not, Pedro's or any of that and definitely not Buc-ee's. This was like old school. And down the aisle, sure enough, they had a whole display of truck nuts.
Yes.
Do you know what truck nuts are? If anybody's listening to this podcast knows what they are, they're like cast out of metal, what looks like swinging testicles that you would put underneath your bumper of your big-ass truck.
On the tow hitch or something.
Yeah,
right?
it was like something to be like, you see my truck, you see my nuts, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, look at me, I'm a big guy, right? Yeah.
I'm cursing too much. Anyway, nuts isn't really cursing.
No, it's fine.
Anyway, so I knew that was what I had to do. So we went fishing up at, where was it? Past Charlottesville. Maybe it was a Little Stony, I think. But anyway, we went fishing. He was still fishing. I got out early, and then I went under his 4Runner, right where, like the bottom of the hitch, and I connected the truck nuts, and then I put the smallest piece of like blue masking tape, like tape that I know will come undone real soon.
Right.
And I get back in my truck, and we're talking, and he's like, well, we're out. I was like, hey, I'll follow you back home. And we get on the road, and within like 2 minutes, these swinging truck nuts are there, and they're just far enough where he might not see them
right away.
And so it's months later, I'm talking to his daughter, who's my son's age, and she's like, wait a minute, oh my God, you put the truck nuts on my dad's truck? And it was like, your dad put a Grateful Dead sticker on my truck.
Right.
And so those jokes have always been going back.
That's amazing.
Anyway.
I've always thought, because I remember seeing truck nuts in Colorado for the first time, and then I was really big into mountain biking at the time, and me and a friend were like, what about bike balls?
Yeah.
Same thing, but hanging from your bike seat. Like, I don't know like what demographic would be into that, but
I've seen a couple in Richmond. Like I saw
bike
some
balls.
Of the bike balls.
I think we should workshop this.
I'm into some bike balls.
All right, last one. I stole this from, there's a podcast called Diary of a CEO. It's super popular, and what he does, he gets the guest. The last thing they do is the guest has to leave a question for the next guest on the podcast, but you have no idea who that person's going to be.
Oh, right on. I like that.
I'll tell you this, she will be out here tomorrow, and it'll be even hotter than today. She's coming out at like 1:30. So, any question for this person, and we'll ask her.
Is there anything about this city that you would change that would bring about a peaceful, loving, and creative, cool environment for this city? Like the modernity of this city, what would you change that could bring about something positive and light-filled and love for this city? I know that sounds weird, but it's like one of those things where some people will say, well, it'd be zoning. I'm sick of people coming from out of town and buying our houses for cash and just, jacking up the rate of all the houses. Because now my kids can't afford a house.
Yep.
Or it could be more art, more creatives. Let's start taking a higher percentage of capital gains, giving it to a bigger art fund, and let's put sculptures and paintings everywhere.
Yep.
Or it could be, I want to have a bigger presence in different parts of the city so that we can give more, social care to certain places that need it. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but let's ask her.
All right, we're gonna ask. Hey, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was fun.
That was very cool. I curse too much. I hope that's not in the problem.
Nuts is perfect. Nuts is the right amount of cursing.